Hi, and welcome to my channel. This is Sluggish Reader. My name is Freddie. I don't usually introduce myself like this in my videos, so this is kind of awkward. But anyway, in this video, I'm going to address, the rant that I sort of teased in my previous video, which was about Xiaolu Guo's I Am China. I raved about it. I loved it so much. So it only makes sense that, the next video would be a video about me ranting about a book that I thought was kind of strange. And of course you would know what that book is because it's already in the title below. It's The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, which I'm sure is one of those books that one of everyone's favorite Booker winner books. And I think this book is sort of infamous for the fact that it co-won the Booker 2019 prize together with Girl, Woman, Other, and a lot of people were sort of incensed by that. And I don't think I'm going to talk in great detail or length about that. I think it has been talked about so many times already, but obviously it's already 2022. No one is refusing to let that go. I mean, so yeah, it's I've heard about everyone's comments about why they were kind of mad about that decision, and after reading this book, I would say I agree. I don't think that this book should have won the prize because this book it just does not have that gravitas, it just does not have that presence. It just does not feel like a Booker Prize, or even a Booker worthy book. Like, this book is a really strange book, and I'm going to talk about why I did not enjoy it very much. But just before that, a little bit of introduction about this book. So The Testaments is sort of like a sequel for The Handmaid's Tale, and the events taking place in The Testaments, I think they take place some years. I think it's about 15 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale. And the story, the novel, is being told through three different perspectives. The first perspective, we have the perspective of an aunt, I would say the highest ranking aunt, the most powerful aunt in Gilead, and that would be Aunt Lydia. And she is this like really secretive and mysterious figure, very powerful figure of authority among all of the aunts. And she's obviously she's up to something kind of devious and mysterious, and we don't really know what she's trying to achieve in this novel. But obviously, from her narrative, we can see that she is sort of planning something nefarious for Gilead. So that's the first protagonist. The second protagonist is we have this girl named Agnes Jemima. And so Agnes Jemima, she is a young woman, or rather a teenager, living in Gilead. And, because of all of this really rigid structures concerning what women should do in that particular society, Agnes is sort of kind of like a fledgling figure in which she is trying to figure out what she wants to do in the society of Gilead as a woman. But the thing is, of course, women, they do not have choices in Gilead. So Agnes would sort of have to, figure out how she wants to be something, or rather in this book, how she wants to avoid a particular position, as we will see later. And I think her story is kind of interesting as well. And so the third protagonist is from a teenager living in Canada. So this particular perspective is very different in a sense that she is the only character that does not live in Gilead. This repressive society of Gilead, and her name is Daisy, and she lives in Canada, and apparently, as we will learn later on, she has some kind of connection to Gilead. But obviously, I'm not going to spoil that. But let me just say that if you ever end up reading this story, there will be a twist concerning, this character of Daisy. But I do feel that twist is just sort of badly written. Like when the twist is finally revealed, you already know about that twist, like miles away. So when you reach that twist, I don't think you'll be surprised anyway. But again, maybe that's just me, but something to expect. There's a twist about this Canadian character. Just expect that if you ever get to this book. But anyway, those are the three perspectives that we see from this novel. And my comment about that is, okay, first of all, I like novels with different perspectives, different narrators, different POVs. They are all great, all neat, wonderful, lovely. But the thing is with this novel is that I find this novel seems to be struggling to figure out how, what kind of book it really wants to be. Because when you look at the narration by Aunt Lydia and Agnes Jemima, their narration seems to fall under, I would say sort of like a genre of adult fiction. Even though Agnes herself is a teenager, but both of these characters, their story seems to fit into a book that one would consider to be an adult literature. In contrast, the narration of Daisy, this Canadian character, her narration seems to be something that more appropriately belongs to a YA fiction. In this case, a YA dystopian. There are so many tropes that you can find in Daisy's narration. Tropes that I would say really overused, like the trope in which a young woman is chosen to do some kind of like big mission in order to change something, revolutionize something, start a revolution, something like that. And then there's a trope about girls crushing on some attractive dudes. And the tropes in which the girl is someone angsty and sort of filled with anger and just sort of cusses a lot, this. And even though it's not straight up mentioned in this book, Daisy also gives up this vibe of not like other girls. So I think it's really strange to have all of these three perspectives mushed together in one particular book, because what you end up with is that even though their stories eventually converge later on in this novel, what you end up for the most part is that you seem to be alternating between an adult fiction and a YA dystopian fiction, and a badly written YA dystopian fiction at that. I don't think the adult sounding, portion of this book is badly written. I think those are kind of decently written. It's Daisy's part that is so badly written, so cliched, so predictable, and so annoying that it just ruins this entire book's experience for me. And when I read the narration by Aunt Lydia and Agnes Jemima, I was like, I sort of enjoyed this book. I thought that it was it flowed very well. It fits really well to this grave and gloomy tone of how it feels to be living in a repressive society, a totalitarian society of Gilead. And you can feel that there are stakes involved. You can feel the urgency, the danger. It's there. I must admit, it was nicely portrayed. But whenever I get to the part in which Daisy starts talking, I feel like this is an original character created by someone who wants to write a fan fiction that takes place in Gilead. So everyone else just acts as if they are living in Gilead, and then suddenly you have this foreign character. I mean, she's from Canada, so maybe that explains why. But then, even as a foreign character in universe, she does not seem to understand the importance of herself, the importance of what she's doing in this novel. She feels like someone who just sort of pops into the novel with someone who does not even care that there are stakes involved. She just rams through the plot. And it feels so strange. It feels awkward, and it's just really jarring. So the tone of this book is all over the place. And I personally think that if this book only consists of the narration by Aunt Lydia and Agnes Jemima, it would have been much better. And or maybe the narration for Daisy can be sort of reworked a little bit, to make it a little bit more fitting towards the overall tone of this book. Because I don't know, this whole thing just does, it just does not work for me at all. So yeah, that's one of my main complaints about this book. It's the tone. Now the other thing that I feel is just so, that I feel to be kind of a weak point of this book is that, it first of all, it is a sequel for The Handmaid's Tale, but I feel that it does not introduce something new in this overall story, overall narrative of Gilead and the handmaids and the people that live there. Whatever questions that we already have, that were already asked in The Handmaid's Tale, they are sort of re-asked again in this book. And so this book does not really try to ask new questions. It does not raise new issues. It sort of just expands, expands the universe of The Handmaid's Tale, and it includes further details. But in terms of being a thought-provoking book, this book, The Testaments, it does not offer anything. And as a result, it feels like this is a book that sort of cheapens the gravitas, the power of The Handmaid's Tale. Because I personally think that one of the reasons why The Handmaid's Tale works so much is that it sort of introduces quite a lot of blanks with its open-ended, ending. So it causes us to question things. It causes us to imagine things. Just speculate when we read that book. And so it is from that, those speculations that we start to figure out, or rather imagine, things that could have been worse than how it was portrayed in the book, for example. And with this book, all of those details were sort of spoon-fed to us, and I feel that, the power that came from speculating whatever happens in The Handmaid's Tale, it sort of evaporates. And for me, it weakens The Handmaid's Tale, this book. So I don't think that it is really necessary personally, it feels as if, you know, it is sort of similar as if someone like George Orwell writing a sequel to 1984 and explains whatever things that were left hanging in 1984, whatever happens to Winston, you know, his next life after that, whatever happens to his lady friend after that. And I think that would definitely weaken the first book as well. So I don't think it's a really good idea, you know, necessarily to write it. But of course, you know, when you look at it from a different perspective, I also sort of looked at it from this particular perspective, in which I could also see the Testaments as a fluff reading, and definitely I did see it this way when I was reading the book. Like, the plot is moving fairly fast, and you know, the pacing, of course, is fast, and it you know, I was able to read it quite quickly as well. The language used is fairly simple and easy to understand, so it feels like a relaxing read instead. It does not feel like a reading that really provoke a lot of new thoughts, but rather it feels like a beach read. So I suppose if you are looking forward to, you know, to read something that would be very thought-provoking, I don't think the Testaments would satisfy that. But if you're looking for something that is relaxing and something that you want to read when you want to de-stress, although a lot of things in here are quite triggering, you know, sexual assault, you know, violence, and death, and self-harm, mental illness, and you know, all of those things. But because of the language, the writing that is used in this book, I feel that this book can certainly be something that you read when you want to just sort of read for fun, you know. I feel that this book is just a really, you know, just a fluff book for me. So I guess it still has that value in that respect, but definitely not a book that is thought-provoking. So I guess those are all my thoughts on this book. And what do you think about this book? Do you like it, or did you dislike it? I really want to hear your thoughts, so why not leave them down in the comments below, and I suppose we can talk more in the comments. And if you're interested in reading this book, I hope that you're not discouraged by reading this book after hearing me ranting about it. Try it for yourself, see how it works for you, and yeah, I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care, thanks for watching, and bye.